You got it, you got it, you just don't know you got it. You got it all inside of you. It's inside, you got it, you got it. Let me help you to spot it. You got it all inside of you. This world can be a prison, a play yard. Peace of mind's inside and ain't far above the clouds, so prepare to take off as we come together off the radar, far away from everything. Let's release the stress and strain. No need for the baggage, babe, cause we came here to heal that pain. Before the ways of the worldly blind you, allow me to take this time to remind you, in the same place that your hurt resides, you can find heaven and healing right inside you. And if you need help, let me guide you past the lies that you're aligned to, till you're redesigned to find truth in the beauty I see inside you. This world can be your prison, a play yard. Peace of mind's inside and ain't far above the clouds, so prepare to take off as we come together off the radar, far away from everything. Let's release the stress and strain. No need for the baggage, babe, cause we came here to heal that pain.
The lighthouse, guiding the righteous is all that I'm about. And now I'll be doing it till my light's out and my time's out. I'm only passing on lessons that I received from those steering me in the right route. They always said I was fly, but that I had to believe in my wings to touch the skies. Have the guts to try, possess a lust for life, required for me to do more than just get by. And now I see you in the distance, amongst the misfits and the mist that clouds your vision of all the gifts that God gave you when He made you, along with the stars, moons, the planets, and sun rays that raised you. So through the fog of all mediocrity, I'm shining this little light for all to see. You already possess your own fresh, but if you have trouble finding it, just call on me.
This world can be a prison, a play yard. Peace of mind's inside and ain't far above the clouds, so prepare to take off as we come together off the radar, far away from everything. Let's release the stress and strain. No need for the baggage, babe, cause we came here to heal that pain. This world can be your prison, a play yard. Peace of mind's inside and ain't far above the clouds, so prepare to take off as we come together off the radar, far away from everything. Let's release the stress and strain. No need for the baggage, babe, cause we came here to heal that pain.
I want to talk to you today from the subject, how to be crazy enough to get what you want. What you have to do is lose your no I can mind and find your yes I can mind. So you see, you got to lose one of these minds. And which one of these minds is it that you have to lose to get what you want? The no I can't mind.
Staring at your greatness, feeling ill-prepared, just a little crazy, just a little scared, leaning on a logic, keeping you from your cares, just a little crazy, just a little scared, that normalcy that nags you to stay and never dare, to move beyond the box that the devil has prepared. Your friends and your folks were raised and played there, so it's all they ever known and all they have to share. Few to try to push you, many to keep you there. Just a little crazy, just a little scared. Chances of choice and curses live in your cares. Just a little crazy, just a little scared. A state of stagnation with no flash or flare. Days are all the same with no glow or glare. The sickness that secures you when fears are all shared. Where very few are crazy and many are just scared. The status quo's tragic but lingers in the air, blocking the blessings that await you upstairs. There's only one way that you can go from here. Just a little crazy, just a little scared. To the promise that the process breeds if you can bear. To give chase, it awaits all who dare to run it down and grab it regardless of the fears. Blessing those crazy enough to do it scared. So I'll fight on until I right all wrongs, from the daytime until the night lights on. I'ma take flight cause it's the right time for me to write and enlighten the minds I've spawned. To show up, grow up, and glow up. Rearrange reality and sicken my enemies till they throw up. Trapped in their own minds while I glow up. putting it down for minds till I go up above past failures, ignoring all fears, cause that false evidence ain't as real as it appears. When you drown out doubt and blood, sweat, and tears, and focus on your goal, the way will be made clear. So visualize all the victories that you wanna see, and what your mind projects is what you're gonna see. On the screen displaying your lifetime, you'll find that it projects what originates in the mind.
This used to be a movie house. Way back up there somewhere is a projector. They never took the projector out. Up here is a big screen that we've used 2 or 3 times. What you see on that screen does not originate on that screen. What you see on the screen originates where? In the projector. So you see, what you are experiencing on the screen of your life does not originate on the screen. If you don't like what's on the screen, it doesn't do any good to get mad with the screen. See, if you see something on that screen that you don't like, you could go up there with a knife and just cut it to pieces. But what would happen? It would reflect on the back wall. If you want to change what is on the screen of experience, you have to go up to the projector of mind. What I see with my inner eye has power to displace and replace that which is in my outer world. The film in the projector is greater than the image on the screen. If you want to change the image on the screen, you got to go back up to the projector and change the film. What is that? The thought. What you see out there is really controlled by what you're seeing in here.
Hey man, 5 miles. Yeah, did I feel like working out today, this morning? Hell no, I didn't. But I got my ass up. See, the thing is, a lot of people want to stop drinking. A lot of people want to stop all their vices. It's just you fighting you. It's you versus you. Look in that mirror, tell yourself you ain't doing it no more. I've been sober for, the last 5 months, man. I feel good. Now every day I feel like going to the gym. So, I say this to say this, man. It's you versus you. Fuck anybody else. It's you versus you. You can do whatever, man. Just put your mind to it, man. Look at me. Slim, man. I was just down there 200 pounds, man. If I could do it, anybody could do it, man. I'm a walking testament. AB, work or die.
So I used to get high, just like he used to get high. What was your low point where it was like, yo, I'm done? What really made me come completely sober, it was just the last time I got shot. I got shot 15 times one time.
This is a significant tattoo, man. I had a bullet open up my flesh right there.
You got shot in the face?
Yeah, man. I got 2 back there in my back, across this eye right here, and right here, dog.
What the happened?
It was really it was the drugs, the alcohol, the lifestyle. I ain't have no morals, no self-respect, no respect for other people.
Yes, sir.
At one point in time in my life, I wanted to die. I ain't even want to live no more, bro. You feel what I'm saying? Because it was so much pain, so much hurt from being through so much, not having what I want, not being where I want to be, even with the music. I want to be a rap star, I want to be this. Nothing ain't going right in life. When I smile, when I laugh, when I joke, that really be like me high in my pain.
Yeah.
But I don't tell nobody. You feel what I'm saying? Sometimes I ache in pain. Motherfuckers don't know that. You feel what I'm saying? Because I don't tell people like that because I don't like getting emotional like that.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, brother. Bruh, everybody here, dog, we love you, brother. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you real, we love you, brother. You supposed to be here. You supposed to be here uplifting all the situations, brother.
I look everybody in the eyes. Do you really want this? Because I hope you understand once I become a part of this, every day we get on all platforms and rep our brands. Not once a week. That's offensive. Every day. You ain't thinking about winning every day? It's just like laying your outfit out.
What we get money with, who we get money with. We gonna make them feel us every day.
All right. Welcome. Want to welcome everybody here. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Of course, I've got to say happy Mother's Day to all of the lovely ladies out there, the beautiful mothers, the ones that understood the assignment and are standing up to it. All my mothers on IG, all my mothers on Facebook, all my mothers on, all the other social media platforms, all right? Just want to give you guys a shout out on this Mother's Day. Shout out to my mama who's in heaven. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. You already know what it is. Love you to death. And also an extra prayer for those that, maybe this may be your first year without your mother. Maybe she's, gone home to glory and this may be a little rough time for you, but just know that you are an outward sign of her inner greatness and what she has poured into you, regardless of whatever type of mother you had. Whatever redeeming qualities she had, they are expressed through you, and you are a living testament to her. And for that, you should be thankful, all right? And all of the mother figures, you know what I'm saying? All of those people all those ladies that stood in the gap, stepmothers, adoptive mothers, all of them, all of you, just period, to all of you beautiful ladies, I just want to say, and the mothers in sobriety, those that are raising children, getting out there and doing it, and also fighting for their sobriety every day, one day at a time. I want to give a special shout out to you as well, all right, for handling your business. You know what I mean? So, like I said, want to thank you guys for coming on in here and welcome you in here. Kind of started off the intro a little different where I'm not on there running my mouth, just letting it play through. So I hope that works for you. But today, all right, let me go ahead and get to my banners. And shout out to everybody that's here, all right? Like I said, for those, I will be screen sharing. So if you are on IG and you're interested in reading along, although you can just listen, I'm going to be reading a passage from a book. If you'd like to see as I read along, you can go to the YouTube channel. It's just YouTube/Sobriety in Black, and you'll be able to see what the people on the YouTube channel are seeing. But if not, for my IG family, a lot of y'all are hardcore IGers. If you want to sit back and just listen, you definitely can do that. You'll be able to hear everything. You'll get an earful. All right? So today, the topic is pleasure. Power or poison? Power or poison, all right? Because when the word pleasure can imbue a lot of different meanings. Me as a communications professor, I'm very big on meanings. I'm very big on making sure we have, common definitions, and I'll be defining certain words. But for this one, I'm actually going to give a reading from a book that, for those who have been tuning in for maybe a while, that this is a book that I, aside from the Bible and all the good holy books, this book from Khalil Gibran called The Prophet is a very strong book. I really like it. It's a story essentially about a prophet who comes to a land, and he's been there for a while teaching, the people on this island about certain things, and he's actually about to leave. And so before he leaves, all of the people in this, I think it's Orpheles or I forget, I'm butchering the name of the island, but I think it's Orpheles or something like that. He's about to leave. He's waiting on his ship to come so that he can leave. And the people of the island are asking him one last thing, asking him questions for him to give insight on before he leaves. And essentially, the book is just a bunch of poems about different topics. So I've done Reason and Passion. I've done Pain. He did a poem on pain. And today we're focusing on pleasure. A very good poem on pleasure. I'm going to read directly from the book. If you'd like to get a free copy, they've got a PDF available online. You can go to my link tree. If you're on IG, you can literally click the link in the bio. It'll take you to my link tree, and and there's a direct link to a PDF of the book that you can go check out. All right. Or you could literally Google Khalil Gibran, the Prophet, and in Google, I know the first link will take you straight to the PDF. But like I said, you could just listen along. All right. Let me read a couple of these. See, you got a little couple comments here. All right. It can be both. Okay. That's a good. Okay, Calvin, I see you. Okay. I like that. And you may be right. You actually, of course, more than likely you are. So I'll be explaining a little bit about that as well. All right. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. So I'm going to start with this reading. This is from a book by Khalil Gibran. It's called The Prophet. And in this section, somebody in the audience asked him to speak on pleasure. And this is what he'll have to say. And we're going to break down. I'm going to read the poem in its entirety, and then I'm going to go through it as I always do to give you my commentary. All right. So this is from Khalil Gibran, The Prophet. Let's see. Let me share this real quick. Y'all on IG, just give me a second real fast. All right. We're going to get to it. All right. All right. Perfect. All right. So here we go. This is from Khalil Gibran's, the book is called The Prophet, and in this section, the prophet is speaking on pleasure. It goes as such. Then a hermit who visited the city once a year came forth and said, "Speak to us of pleasure." And the prophet answered, saying, "Pleasure is a freedom song, but it is not freedom. It is the blossoming of your desires, but it is not their fruit. It is a depth calling unto a height, but it is not the deep nor the high. It is the caged taking wing, but it is not space encompassed. In very truth, pleasure is a freedom song. And I fain would have you sing it with fullness of heart, yet I would not have you lose your hearts in the singing. Some of your youth seek pleasure as if it were all, and they are judged and rebuked. I would not judge nor rebuke them. I would have them seek. For they shall find pleasure, but not her alone. 7 are her sisters, and the least of them is more beautiful than pleasure. Have you not heard of the man who was digging in the earth for roots and found a treasure? And some of your elders remember pleasures with regret, like wrongs committed in drunkenness. But regret is the beclouding of the mind and not its chastisement. They should remember their pleasures with gratitude, as they would the harvest of a summer. Yet if it comforts them to regret, let them be comforted. And there are among you those who are neither young to seek nor old to remember. And in their fear of seeking and remembering, they shun all pleasures, lest they neglect the spirit or offend against it. But even in their foregoing is their pleasure. And thus they too find a treasure, though they dig for roots with quivering hands. But tell me, who is he that can offend the spirit? Shall the nightingale offend the stillness? Shall the nightingale offend the stillness of the night, or the firefly the stars? And shall your flame or your smoke burden the wind? Think you the spirit is still a pool which you can trouble with a staff? Oftentimes, in denying yourself pleasure, you do but store the desire in the recesses of your being. Who knows but that which seems omitted today waits for tomorrow? Even your body knows its heritage and its rightful need and will not to be deceived. And your body is the harp of your soul, and it is yours to bring forth sweet music from it or confused sounds. And now you ask in your heart, how shall we distinguish that which is good in pleasure from that which is not good? Go to your fields of your gardens, and you shall learn that it is the pleasure of the bee to gather honey of the flower. But it is also the pleasure of the flower to yield its honey to the bee. For To the bee, a flower is a fountain of life. And to the flower, a bee is a messenger of love. And to both bee and flower, the giving and receiving of pleasure is a need and an ecstasy. People of Orphalese, be in your pleasures like the flowers and the bees. All right, so that's the whole poem in and of itself. All right, let me stop sharing here. Speaking of pleasure, from Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. Now, this poem has a lot to kind of unpack. There's some, the pleasure, the whole poem is just, to me, it's just fire. But some things stick out, especially when we're talking about sobriety and pleasure with regards to its power or its poison, right? And how we can look, perceive, and use and understand pleasure. All right, give me 1 sec before I go on. Okay. All right, got it. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so one of the first things he says here is pleasure is a freedom song, but it is not freedom. It is the blossoming of your desires, but it is not their fruit. Now, when we look at this, okay, when we look at pleasure, think about with regards from the lens of sobriety, right? Or the lens of addiction, I should say. A lot of times we drink for pleasure. We drink to feel a certain way, right? To feel good, or do drugs to feel good, or overeat or engage too much in a lot of our vices to have some type of, positive feeling, right? So he talks about pleasure is a freedom song, right? But it is not freedom, right? It is not freedom. It is not a fulfilling life, a free life. And we all know that in addiction, yes, it may blunt a pain. It may feel good to feel buzzed, but does that mean you're free? Actually, one of the original meanings for an addict was slave. And as an addict, you are a slave to your passions. You are a slave to whatever vice you are addicted to, regardless of whether it makes you feel good or it makes you feel bad. A lot of times for me as an alcoholic, right, I drink a lot. It may make me feel good. I may have a good time. There may be positive experiences attached to it. But then the next morning, boom, I'm trapped. I'm trapped, physically trapped. I can't really move. I can't move healthily like I want to. My stomach is hurting, right? The fruit from that pleasure that I had is rotten, right? That's why he says pleasure is a freedom song. Well, that sounds nice. When people talk a certain way, oh yeah, that sounds good. But then their actions don't match what they say. That song, right? Doesn't match their actions. I mean, remember when Chris Brown singing all these love songs and then this situation with Rihanna, one didn't match the other? One of my favorite songs from Chris Brown is Fine China. And he literally says, it's all right, I'm not dangerous. And there's no disrespect to Chris Brown, but just taking an analogy we can all rock with. I'm not dangerous. And then you got the situation with Rihanna, right? Actions didn't match the words. And what he's saying is the pleasures that we seek in addiction, when we're looking at this through the lens of addiction, may feel good, may sound good, but at the end of the day, when we look at it, like it says, it is the blossoming of your desires, but not their fruit. The fruit at the end of the day, what comes from it at the end of the day, is rotten. It's damaging. It doesn't feel good. We've all heard the saying. What does this say on the screen? Everything that tastes good is not good for you, right? Everything that has that's a pleasure to the tongue may not be a good to your life, right? And so we have to understand that what he's saying is pleasure is a freedom song. Pleasure may seem good, sound good, but don't get it confused with the harvest that it may bring, because based off of that pleasure, that's type, where you're getting it from, the source, it could end up, the fruit of that could not be pleasure at all, right? And so it's important for us to understand that. When we're living a life in sobriety, we understand, okay, well, if I relapse, it may feel good for that second, because I relapsed a few times before this last 11-year streak of sobriety. And I remember when I first took that drink, for that second it felt good. Then I woke up the next morning and my pains were doubled, not only because I was hungover and I couldn't move, but also there was the shame of, messing up my sober streak. And so that's a way that you can keep mindful when you're trying to continue to walk in sobriety, is understanding that that fruit is around the corner. You can't avoid it. That rotten fruit that can come from the pleasure of the addiction that you initially see. We've heard the thing. Now, I've never, smoked cocaine or, crack or anything like that, but I've always heard this analogy about getting your bell rung and how the first time you hit it, it's like this super great hit, great feeling that you spend the rest of your life smoking crack to chase. You're chasing that first high. Because of course, just like with alcohol or anything else, your tolerance goes up. So you gotta ingest more in order to get the same out of it, right? So that's part of the situation that we're dealing with here, and that's what the prophet is kind of saying. Now, of course, he says also in here, when he points straight to drunkenness in the poem, he says, and some of your elders remember pleasures with regret, like wrongs committed in drunkenness. And this is what a lot of wisdom brings us. When I was young in my addiction, even though I may have suffered the next day, I really didn't think about it. One, because I was in my addiction. I was too busy chasing it. And when I was young, my body could bounce back a little quicker. So I really didn't look at it with too much regret. It was like, it happens, right? Tell a little story, laugh about it, keep it pushing. But as I got further on, you grow up, you gain the wisdom of the time and experience. You start to understand, these pleasures come with, come with the price. These sensations come with the price. And is that price starts to go up as you go older, as you get older. So you look at those with regret. Now, what he does say is that you shouldn't, and there's a reason why, right? But he also says here, yet if it comforts them to regret, let them be comforted. So for me, I will look at the past and say, man, I regret some of the things I did when I was drunk. Why? Because I use that to keep me mindful so that I can keep my current fulfillment today. I don't look at it to beat myself up. And that's what he's saying. Like, don't beat yourself up, learn from it, and then it becomes a tool. That your past becomes a tool. And that's something I'm going to lead to how you deal with, your past. You can use it to brighten up your future if you learn from it. And that's where the comfort can come from. Why am I comforted whenever I go out and I don't drink anymore and somebody says, well, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm good. Why? Because I'm comforted in knowing I don't have to deal with hangovers. I don't have to deal with crashing my car. I don't have to deal with potentially running into somebody and killing them. Anybody, you go through my IG or any of my social media, you guys know I posted that story about that young man, he must have been 22 years old, who blacked out in his car, thought he just hit a fire hydrant. He's literally it shows him in the police office, where the police station, where the police are telling him, he's like, yeah, I hit a fire hydrant. Like, no, you hit another car and you killed a man. And he's literally finding out right there. You see it on his face. He's like, what? He finds out that he killed somebody. Right? And so, he's finding out the price of that pleasure he was pursuing. So when he hopefully seeks his sobriety, he can learn from that. Now, he's going to have a lot of time to sit down and learn from that, unfortunately. And luckily for us, which is why I post a video, we can learn from his mistake instead of having to experience it, right? Of course, we all have our own experiences, but we can stop with all that. We can start learning from other people's experiences, right? Okay. Now it says here, oftentimes in denying yourself pleasure, you do but store the desire in the recesses of your being. Who knows but that which seems omitted today waits for tomorrow. Now this is something that kind of alludes to the difference between sobriety and recovery, right? Sobriety is you stop drinking. Recovery is dealing with the things that brought you to your addiction so that you're comfortable, you're living you can live a fulfilled life without drinking and you don't need it. You're not just walking around miserable because you're holding yourself back all day, but you're addressing the issues that brought you to the bottle or the pipe or the dirty cup or the syringe to begin with. And you resolve those issues so that you have even lesser need for it or less cravings, right? Because when you're worried, you used to go to the bottle, but now when you're worried, you have positive coping mechanisms. Because when you get sober, if you haven't worked on your recovery, it's going to be waiting for you tomorrow, those cravings. Who knows but that which seems omitted today waits for tomorrow. And that's why recovery is important. Sobriety is important, of course. It gets the engine started. But to keep the car going like your alternator, that's where recovery comes into play. And how you find recovery when still having a fulfilled and pleasurable life is what we're going to talk about next. Okay? So the first thing we have to do, as we can be informed from this poem, is to seek pleasures that are good for you and resist those that are not, those that are bad for you. Okay? As he says at the end of the poem, people of Orphalese, be in your pleasures like the flowers and the bees. Now, if you remember in the poem, what he says is, the flower, the bee comes to the flower for the honey to be fulfilled, and he gets his pleasure, right? Or his fulfillment, really, because of course he's taking that honey back to feed others, right? To the hive, not just for himself, which we're going to talk about, okay? And gains pleasure from that fulfillment. And then the flower itself is fulfilled because it's providing a service. It's giving, right? To help the life of the bee, and finds pleasure in that way through service, right? And so that's important. There's a mutual exchange, and this comes to the two forms of pleasure that I want you to think about for the rest of this broadcast, and I'm going to talk about and extrapolate now. And that is, we talk about mutual exchange, fulfillment through mutual exchange. The bee finds pleasure because he's taking this honey to serve others, to serve himself and to feed others, right? And the flower finds pleasure in being able to offer this service, right? Be the fulfillment of giving, okay? And so that goes into the next part of this conversation, which is, and these are two types of pleasure, sensation versus fulfillment. Sensation versus fulfillment. So I'm going to break down a definition of both of these words, because in addiction, we seek sensations. In addiction, we seek sensation. That pleasure that we're seeking is sensational. It's a sensational pleasure. And what is sensation? Sensation is a physical feeling or perception resulting from something that happens to or comes into contact with the body. Okay? It's a physical feeling or perception resulting from something that happens to or comes into contact with the body. It's a sensation, right? Getting buzzed is a sensation. Getting drunk is a sensation. As an alcoholic, I drink to get drunk. I drink to get buzzed, right? You're drinking to catch a feeling, right? And in that definition, there's some words and some concepts that stand out that I want you to think about. Sensation, so sensational pleasure, it's physical, it's temporary, it's self-centered, it's self-focused, and it can be addictive even if the sensation is unpleasant, because sensations can be pleasant or unpleasant. An orgasm, being lit on fire. Those are both sensations. They're physical. There's something physical that's happening there. One feels good, one feels bad. Right? And so when we think about ourselves and our addiction, we're seeking sensations, even if they're negative. You have some people who, I used to work with emotionally, damaged students and individuals, dealing in special education. And I had some students that would scratch on themselves. They'd scratch on themselves. You know, in the movie not in the movie, but in the series Snowfall. Anybody who saw Snowfall, there was that one cop, the Asian lady who was with the black crooked cop, and the Asian lady. There was a time she would take the cigarette lighter in her car, and hurt herself. Now she's doing that to catch a sensation, to divert her from mental anguish, and she said that people who scrape themselves, it's so that they can focus on another pain to take away from another. And that can be addicting. Now, those who don't understand that concept will wonder, well, why do they do that? But it's catching a sensation. All right? Just like as an alcoholic, sometimes I drink certain alcohols I couldn't stand. It tasted bad. I knew it was going to make my stomach hurt because some alcohol treated me different than others. But I still needed that buzz. And I knew I was going to pay for it. But I was so addicted, it didn't matter. I needed that sensation. I was dependent and addicted to that sensation. Okay? So sensations are physical. They're temporary. That's what keeps you an addict. You got to keep coming back for it. You know, they talk about crack addicts and ringing the bell. You got to keep coming back for it. And then you get to the point where you need more to get to the same place you were. It would take you a year ago. Instead of one bottle, now you need 2. Instead of one hit, you need 50. Right? So that's sensations. We remember they're physical, they're temporary, they're self-centered. When you're getting these sensations, when I'm worried about getting drunk, I'm worried about me getting drunk. Now, after I get drunk, I may pass around some bottles to get everybody else drunk, but my primary focus is me. It's very selfish. Sensational pleasure is a very selfish pleasure, right? As the center of most pleasure is. It's selfish. It's to come to you. It's kind of the whole point, right? Now, fulfillment is the achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted. Okay? So there's achievement involved in it. And to expand the definition, fulfillment is a deeper sense of satisfaction, contentment, or completion. It involves a sense of purpose, achievement, or personal growth. This is fulfillment. Okay? It's experienced on an emotional, can be experienced on an emotional, physical, intellectual, or spiritual level. Okay? So there's some things within the dimensions of fulfillment that differ itself from sensation. Now, fulfillment is a type of pleasure. Okay? It's something that feels good to you. Some of the differences are, 1, fulfillment is not just physical. It's actually multidimensional. It can be spiritual, social, emotional, intellectual fulfillment, right? When I got my last degree, I just recently got my MBA, my second master's. I had a feeling of fulfillment. I fulfilled the desire. I worked for it, went to class for it, suffered for it, and I got it. Now, did it make me feel buzzed physically? Nah. But mentally, I felt good, but it wasn't like, drinking a bottle or, smoking a joint or something. And that's not why I did it. I didn't go to myself, man, when I get this MBA, physically, I'm going to feel like I'm on top of the world. No, it's the fulfillment and the achievement of a goal that I planned for and I strove for that was protracted over time. So it's not just temporary, right? Let me read this. Hold on. I got a comment that came through to make sure. Yes, everything has cause and effect. You're absolutely right, Calvin. Absolutely right. Okay. It involves a sense of purpose, right? Achievement, personal growth, right? It can be experienced on multiple levels. And these are the things that when you go from addiction to sobriety to recovery, you go from seeking sensational pleasure to finding fulfillment. That's the reason why a lot of people, when you're in the early contemplative stages, maybe you haven't stopped drinking or you haven't stopped using and you're wondering how you're going to get through life without the sensation of getting high, the sensation of getting drunk. I'm going to tell you now, because you're going to replace it with a lot more fulfillment. You're going to replace it with fulfillment. The pleasure of fulfillment will become more of your focus as opposed to the pleasure from the sensation. You move from sensational pleasure to the contentment, the fulfillment of the completion that comes from fulfillment, which is more meaningful. And when you think about your life, when you're a child, you seek sensation. This tastes good. Well, it's bad for me, but I love candy. I want candy for dinner. You don't even understand nor care that candy is bad for you. Your parents tell you that, but your little brain doesn't even get that. All you know is your five senses. Does it feel good? Does it taste good? Does it look good? Right? Sensational pleasure is all. Now, when you grow up, right, you have more responsibilities. You have people that depend on you. You may have children or mentees, right? Now, how they feel matters to you. And fulfillment, your personal pleasure, doesn't trickle down to them. Every orgasm you get, they don't benefit from that. Now, if you make some money because you strove to go to school to get a better job and you could provide more for your children, that pleasure, long lasting. You know, a lot of people talk about generational wealth and making money so that their future generations can benefit. That is a pleasure. That is fulfillment. And when you grow up and you grow out of seeking the sensational all the time, you grow into seeking fulfillment. And through sobriety, you find that fulfillment. See how that works? So in sobriety and recovery, you go from seeking sensational pleasures to the pleasure of fulfillment. And fulfillment is longer lasting. It's not temporary. It's not just physical. Okay? It's emotional. It's multidimensional, unlike sensation. And it also benefits others. It's not self-centered. Now, there are self-centered benefits. There are benefits you get, of course. Yes, my MBA is mine, has my name on it. It's not like my children or other people get an MBA because I got one. But what I can do with the knowledge I gained in order to achieve it helps others. It may be whether I get another job that I can qualify for, or I can open up another business, right? And just the knowledge I gotten of itself. Okay? Now, all of the drinking I did in addiction, got little temporary sensations, right? I got temporary sensations that benefited me for that fleeting moment. But in my sobriety, I now can be here hoping to teach somebody else and pour into them with the knowledge I gained through the suffering through addiction and conquering it every day, just like I have to conquer it today, right? Now I can be of a benefit, and there's a fulfillment I get. Writing my book, Sobriety in Black, that was a fulfilling pleasure. When I finished it and it finally went live, you know what I'm saying? And the first person bought it, really just the fact that it existed. As soon as it hit Amazon, I was like, wow. And of course, yes, I physically felt good, but that was like the last of it. You know, it was just the mental achieving it, getting over my fears of disclosure, transparency, knowing that there's something, I did it because I wanted to help others. The pleasure of the serving others, helping others, that's fulfillment. And that's longer lasting. It's stronger, right? And if we link in the Bible, got a couple of verses here for you to think about when we talk about sensational pleasures. Proverbs 21:17, it says, "Whoever loves pleasure will be a poor man. He who loves wine and oil will not be rich." You will be a poor man. You may have physically have money, but you will be poor in spirit, poor emotionally, right? Because your love of pleasure is self-centered. You're in love with something that's fleeting, something that doesn't benefit anybody except yourself for the moment. And it takes you away from being, contributing to the greater society, which whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, at some point we're here to do. Okay? Then he's got one for the ladies. "But she who is self-indulgent is dead even while she lives. 1 Timothy 5 and 6. She who is self-indulgent. What did I tell you about sensational pleasures? They're self-indulgent. They're selfish. Me, 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 me. Right? And they say you're dead even though you live. In addiction, I was the walking dead. Sometimes I'd go into work late because I was drunk the night before, like the walking dead. I tell that story in my book, Sobriety in Black. When my mama, we used to work at the same school. She met me at the front door because her intuition was right. I came in 2 hours late and I smelled like a brewery. She said, go home. Because of your selfishness and the sensational pleasures you sought yesterday, you are no good here. You're no good to these students. You're no good to represent my last name. You're no good to nothing. Take your butt home. I wasn't going to be fulfilling anybody's, goal to be knowledge, gain some knowledge, teaching that class, standing in front of there, hungover, looking crazy, okay? Smelling like a brewery, all discombobulated. So she sent me home. And because of my self-indulgence the night before, I cost those children an education for that day. Okay? So at the end of the day, the question is, how do we seek fulfillment? And this is really for people who you're starting off in sobriety, and maybe I've given you this revelation that don't worry about not having the sensation of drinking. Focus on where you can find fulfillment in your life. Focus on how you can be a benefit to others. Focus on a few things, and I'm gonna go through a few things, and then we'll be out of here. And I started listing these, but I'm gonna list a few of them here. Say appreciation, setting small goals, and avoiding comparisons. So these are 3 I laid here, and I'm gonna probably give you a couple more before we go. So I'm gonna talk about appreciation. The first thing you can do to start reclaiming some fulfillment in your life in sobriety. And this is for somebody that's especially young in sobriety. Or maybe you're sober, but you haven't started the recovery process yet. Maybe you're a dry drunk. Maybe you're still, you're having and maybe you just need a reminder. Gratitude. Where you're at today, right now. Of course, you could probably find a bunch of things to beat yourself up about. But sit down, write down 10 things that you're thankful for today. Not just thankful for other people giving you. Yes, you're thankful for your car. Yes, you're thankful for the roof over your head. And that's not to be discounted. It's easy to be great, have gratitude for that. And if you haven't yet, and you've got that, and that's a revelation, then yeah, let's start there. But then I also want you to think about personality traits, talents, your personality traits. I want you to think about the last time that you helped somebody. And I want you to appreciate yourself. I want you to show gratitude for yourself. The last time you achieved something, anything. I don't care if it's just waking up in the morning and brushing your teeth. But maybe you haven't brushed your teeth in the last few days. I know I'm just making up stuff. But anything that you've accomplished, going to the gym when you didn't want to go to the gym, calling that person that you didn't want to forgive, but you called them anyway. Accepting a call and forgiving somebody who did you wrong. Asking or letting somebody know that you did them wrong, you recognize it, and you want to work to make amends. Cooking a new dish. I don't care how small you may think it is. Think about the things that celebrate yourself and appreciate some of the things that make you you today. Think about and appreciate the last thing that gave you a true sense of fulfillment. Okay? Some of you out there may have, mothers that you don't forgive, or maybe you haven't spoken to in a while, and maybe today you decided to let them know that you love them. Appreciate the fact that you went and did that. Any type of adversity that you overcame. Okay? Take some time to appreciate yourself. Have a selfish appreciation for the things that make you you. Everybody has a redeeming quality. Even if it's the quality of surviving another day. I don't care if you're homeless, sleeping behind a trash can. If you're awake and you didn't off yourself, be gracious for that. Be gracious for the fact that you were strong enough to be here another day, even if you feel like it's just another day of suffering. You were man or woman enough to face this day and not, do the irreversible to yourself. Okay? Appreciate that and start there. Then you can set some small goals for yourself to find fulfillment. Okay? Let me read these comments. I'm trying to do better at looking at. There you go. Hey, Slade Acid. I love it, man. I want to take some time to appreciate you. Says, I've been sober for a year now and I thought I could never stop. You thought you could never stop. I feel you. I've been there and I want to say, man, congratulations on the first year. Gonna give you a hand. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that's a big one. The first year, a lot of times that could be the toughest year. The toughest year. And you did it. I want to, root you on and, just keep going. Just get through today. You make it a year and a day. You can do it. And it is crazy, right? In the beginning, you're sitting there looking like, man, can I ever do this? You never thought you could get to a year. And here you are. Pat yourself on the back if nobody else does. Appreciate yourself, Slade. Good stuff. Bert, great point. Gratitude on the micro wins and attracts more abundance. Absolutely right. Okay, Tom Brady won that first Super Bowl. Blinks. Now he's got, what is he at, 7? You know what I'm saying? Even got one for my team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? But it does. Like attracts like. So get ingrained a sense of gratitude. All right? Then we say setting small goals. Where do we go from here? Make a goal that's achievable. That's why we say one day at a time. Don't worry about, not drinking for your whole life or for the next 5 years. Worry about getting through today. Worry about getting through the next 5 minutes and then celebrate yourself 5 minutes from now. Then go on to the next 5 minutes. Okay? It's going to build up your sense of fulfillment. It's lasting. Slade here just celebrated the fact that he's been 1 year. I want to give him a shout out to help him get through another day. He's stacking. That's fulfillment. That's not sensation. That's fulfillment, which is way more valuable. All right? Avoid comparisons. Okay? Slade doesn't need to be looking at the next person going, oh, well, that person's got 5 years of sobriety. That person's got a year and 2 weeks. That don't matter. This is where you get selfish. You worry about your accomplishments. You got that year, good job, celebrate yourself, and that's it. I saw a post, because y'all know I be in the gym. There was a post with a guy who, he's got 150 dumbbell, one on each side. I'm like, damn. And he said himself, in the audio while he's doing this, it says, look, if you're benching 100 pounds, don't look at that and say, man, I'm only benching 100. I should be at this. No, pat yourself on the back for hitting that 100 pounds. Pat yourself on the back. It's about your accomplishments. This is where you want to get selfish. You selfishly celebrate yourself, your accomplishments. They mean it to you, and you are all that matters when it comes to giving yourself gratitude. If other people give it to you, great, but you don't even need it. That's just icing on the cake, baby. And you sure enough don't depend on it. Because anything you depend on, whoever gives it to you can control you by taking it away. All right? Clap for yourself. Celebrate yourself. There are a few other things that you can do. All right. And then I'm going to be out of here. I just wanted to make sure I threw in here. Being of service, and I've alluded to this earlier, being of service to others. When was the last time you did any community service? Feed the homeless, clothe the homeless, donate one shirt to the Goodwill or Salvation Army. Anybody can do that. I'm pretty sure you got one piece of clothing. Literally, I don't care if it's one piece. Take you a pair of old shoes, drive yourself down to the Salvation Army, give it to the Salvation Army. You see a homeless person, you got a penny, I don't care if you give them a penny, and celebrate the fact that you did. Okay, some people may, you ain't got to post it on the gram and all that, but do it on purpose with intention. That's going to increase your sense of fulfillment. All right, I'm always talking about purpose kills poison. My purpose is to make sure that I don't just throw this dirty pair, I think they're dirty, ill-usable pair of shoes away. I'm going to give it to somebody who, to them, they mean something. To somebody with no feet, any pair of shoes is valuable. So I got 100 pairs of shoes. All right, I'm going to give them this one. And yes, celebrate the fact that you did it. Because you did something good for somebody else. It's going to increase your fulfillment. And then you have small goal fulfillment goals where you reach out to other people. Okay? Now, you can also seek safe sensations. So for me, I do get a physical, for lack of a better term, high after a workout. There's a physical pleasure that I get. There's a sensational pleasure that I get from working out. Before, I used to look at it like, oh, I'm sore. But there's other physical things that happen. I feel better when my posture, like I noticed before, I used to do a lot of bench. I do some legs, a lot of bench, working on abs, but I really didn't work too much on my back. And I remember the first time I started doing, they call them, I think they call farmer boy carries, where you grab whatever dumbbells are heavy to you and you stand up with your arms back and you just walk a certain distance up and back and it gets your whole back tight. And I did it because I was looking at posture. And there was a physical pleasure that I felt after doing it. Because I felt like I was standing up 2 inches taller. Because without having to force yourself to do it, after doing it, you literally are walking around like this. And it physically inside, I felt like a stronger tree. It was almost like a tree trunk that, you know what I'm saying, that was just stronger, a petrified tree trunk. Like, you physically feel it. And now the soreness that what you guys may call a soreness from working out, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I look forward after a hard workout to waking up the next morning and feeling that little tightness. And sometimes it's soreness, especially if I worked a brand new muscle. I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. Now the one sensation I still gotta get over on leg day is the lactic acid, that burn from legs. I hate it. I'm trying, because you can teach yourself to love any sensation. Because I remember with alcohol, I drank it, once as a kid. I thought it was the nastiest tasting stuff on earth. And I sure did teach myself to love the taste of it. Okay? So now my new one is I'm trying to get that feeling of lactic acid, in that burn in my thighs to actually be pleasurable. And I know that just comes through repetition and perception. Okay? But you can do that by finding, and it may be eating more fruits, making mocktails that taste good to you, right? A physical pleasure. Maybe you have never had a silk shirt. Throw some silk on, something that makes the senses, that's different to your senses of your body. Those are physical pleasures that you can have that ain't gonna hurt you or anybody else, but will make you feel better, will give you a physical, change and an improvement in the physical feeling, right? Finding silver linings in everything involved in your life. Everything, including hard times, including pain. You can find a silver lining. How do you find a silver lining from a painful or traumatic experience? You learn from it. Learning from it and then passing that knowledge on to others. That's the fulfilling pleasure that you can get. The silver lining that can come from your struggle. What I do now, writing my book, all of these things now as a recovery coach, that came because I suffered through addiction. I suffered through alcoholism. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here doing this. Right? Now, do I suggest that people go and become alcoholics? No. But from whatever trauma you have, whatever negative situations you may be going through, sit there and say to yourself, what can I learn from it? How can I benefit from it? Be selfish. What's in this for me? What's in this negative thing that happened? What's in it for me? What's the positive? And you sit there and contemplate that long enough, you will find an answer. All right? And then lastly, create a vision for your life moving forward. Create a vision for your life moving forward. All right? Starting now, you can create a vision, create a plan to seek the fulfillment and the contentment in your life that you deserve and that you will definitely gain in sobriety. All right? So those are just a few things I wanted you to think about. So with regards to the question, pleasure, is it a power or poison? Yes, the answer is it's based off of how you see it and what type of pleasure you're seeking. It can be either or. And I hope that the things that I provided you today have given you some perspective on how you can find the positive pleasures that can uplift your life and enhance your life and make your life more meaningful, more purposeful, all right, and more pleasurable as we move along in this thing called life. All right. So I hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Mother's Day. Once again, like I said, happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful mothers out there. All right. And happy sober Mother's Day to all my sober soldier ladies out there fighting a good fight, living another day, one day at a time, sober. You know, I want to shout out to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. All right. And until next time, peace.